All right, welcome back. Another week of Good Vibes. I'm Martin False, joined by Debbie Cox DeNova, and we're going to talk tonight about intuition. It's a big word. Everybody always talks about it, but what is it really, and how do we use it properly? And Debbie, intuition. How do we tap into our intuition?
That's a great question. When we're talking about intuition, we're talking about knowing something, but maybe not knowing how we know something, right? We've all been there. It's kind of like, I just had a feeling and I followed it.
Too many times.
Too many times. And, you know, a lot of it is mysterious, but let's unpack some of it and demystify it, because what we're talking about really is an integrated approach to intelligence or thinking. And that means tapping into all of your brains. Now, when I say all of your brains, most people go, all of your brains, because we're very familiar with the head brain, right? That's the one that gets the most talked about. But neuroscience is telling us that we actually have three brains: the one in the head, one in your heart, and the one in your gut. So we kind of instinctively know this. We use language for this, right? Trust your gut, right? Follow your heart, right? Use your head. So if we are able to integrate, do an integrated approach to thinking and intelligence, we're tapping into all of the available resources for thinking that we have. And some of it is quite mysterious. We don't quite know. There are some guesses and some quite intelligent guesses. So we can talk about that. I love to start with the heart, all right? So the heart, it used to be that scientists thought that the brain was the master organ. And now, from research from the Heart Math Institute, they're believing now that it's the heart. The heart has a larger electromagnetic field than any other part of your body. Okay, it's got about 40,000 neurons. And when we're talking about brains, we're talking about functional, like each of them have neural networks, each of them respond to language. Because if you think about the job of any neural network, it is to listen and to communicate. So they all respond to language in different ways, and we'll talk about how we can tap into them using our words. Okay, but with the heart, there's 40,000 neurons running across the nervous system of the heart and sending more messages to the brain than the brain is actually sending to the heart. So it's not just a pump. And here's a really fascinating study that was done by the Heart Math Institute on 25 subjects. So they took these 25 people and they took them through a process called heart coherence. And I can tell you in a little while how to do that. But essentially, you're taking your heart to the optimal rhythm, to an optimal rhythm, okay? So they did a process to bring these participants there, and then they did measurements, rigorous measurements, the skin conductivity, heart variability. They hooked them up to EEGs, ECGs, and then they placed them in front of computer monitors. And the computers were programmed to randomly select images that would either elicit a calming effect or a stimulating effect, okay? So randomly. And then they took these measurements of these participants right before the computer selected the images, and what they found, interestingly enough, is that both the heart and the brain of these participants who were in heart coherence, both the heart and the brain responded to the images before they were even selected by the computer, but the heart responded first. So a lot of quantum physicists and spiritualists will think that the heart is the place where we access our intuition, where we tap into that mysterious, divine, unified source intelligence, and we pull information from we don't know where.
Because if the brain would have noticed it first, then you could say, oh, well, the brain's telling the heart. Right. But the heart noticed it first.
Well, the heart didn't even notice it. It perceived it, because remember, the computer had not even selected the image yet. And the heart and the brain reacted and responded to the image before it was even selected.
That's incredible stuff.
Right? Super incredible. So then we have the gut brain. Okay, so the gut brain, the gut brain goes from the back of the throat all the way down to the back door, okay? And it's got about 500 million neurons. And again, more messages are going to the brain than the inverse. In fact, 400 times more messages are going from the gut to the brain.
So let me ask you, Debbie, moving along, so the gut has 500 million, so it's a bigger computer than the other ones.
For the neurons, for sure. Now, neither one of the heart brain or the gut brain is as sophisticated as our head brain, so we'll talk about that.
But it's a part of it.
Yes, yes. So there was a great work called the multiple brain integration, okay, by Marvin Oka and Grant Suzalu. And they talked about how specific questions can be formulated, because remember, these neural networks, they respond to our language. So for example, if you wanted to connect to the heart, you would actually ask questions that related to connection, relationship, gratitude, appreciation, right? If you wanted to bring yourself to a coherent place with the heart, kind of going back, but we'll circle back around to the gut, you could close your eyes first, take some deep breaths, and by closing your eyes and taking deep breaths, you're sending the signal to your body that you are safe. You place your hand lightly on your heart. That's sending the communication to your consciousness that you're coming from the heart space. And then you either elicit images, or you bring forth images that elicit gratitude, appreciation, or relationship, or you ask questions that are related to those topics. And then you know that you're accessing consciousness through the heart.
Gut with me is strong. When I'm thinking something and feeling something, I normally get a pretty good gut reaction.
Yeah.
But the heart is also strong.
Yeah.
Think what you had sometimes? No, most of the time I get a stronger heart reaction or gut reaction. Is this normal?
Sure, and again, it goes back to the language that you're using with yourself. So the self-talk, remembering that all of these places, we have neural networks in the heart, the head, the heart, and the gut. So if you're using language that relates to connectivity and gratitude and appreciation, you're tapping more into the heart space. If you're using words and language that's connected to self-preservation, mobilization, so should I go, should I not go, right? Courage, then you'll be tapping into the language of the gut. And again, the gut brain goes from the back of the throat all the way down to the back door, has 500 million neurons. It's sending 400 times more messages to the brain than the inverse. So super, super sophisticated, and again, we used to think that the gut was unrelated. The gut is actually very related to what we're doing in our head, in our brain
But the
health.
brain is actually the air traffic controller.
Yeah, the brain is the most sophisticated one. We're talking about 86 billion neurons.
So
okay?
when you deal with the heart, you got people, if you're very sentimental, I'm sure it does a different thing than if you're cold-hearted. I'm sure there's some people a lot more courageous than others, so that's the gut doing a different dynamic?
Well, yeah, you're just tapping into different parts. And again, the best way to do it is an integrated approach, right? So you want to be able to trust your gut, and you want to follow your heart, and you want to use your head, and all three of them all the way together. And if you feel like, well, maybe I'm a little disconnected from my gut, or I've been habitually discounting that, then again, you can use language to specifically tap in. Talk about self-preservation, mobilization, and courage, so you can tap into to your gut instinct.
You know, we talk about it a lot, but how many times have I told somebody, man, follow your gut?
Yeah.
It's true.
It is absolutely true. And you literally have a brain. That you've got that second brain with the 40,000 neurites for your heart. You've got 500 million neurons that run through your gut-brain axis, and then you've got the 86 billion that are actually in your head. And our most sophisticated hardware, the most sophisticated part of our brain, is that prefrontal cortex, which we've talked about for so long. And we can actually come up with we can face very difficult problems, and the prefrontal cortex will come up with these amazing solutions. And you can ask questions like, what do I envision as the best case scenario in this? Or what would represent a breakthrough for me? And when you do that, you're accessing the prefrontal cortex and speaking the language of your head brain to help you to maneuver through problems and actually access higher intelligence.
So a lot of times the brain is overloaded after Ida. People are having to make decision after decision after decision.
Yeah.
They're trying to go with their gut, trying to go with their heartfelt emotions. Sometimes the brain says, whoa, too much, too fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to regulate it.
You do have to regulate it, and you also can remember that you actually can replenish we know that the prefrontal cortex has a shorter battery life, so to speak, on it. It's more evolved, but it has a shorter battery life. It depletes quite quickly. The great thing about your heart specifically is that if you go into heart processes like meditation, like visualization, like the heart coherence process that I just talked about, where you put your hand here, you close your eyes, you take a few deep breaths, not only are you accessing the consciousness of the heart, but you're actually replenishing and rejuvenating on the prefrontal cortex as well. So if you're feeling depleted, it might be a good idea to stop and access the intelligence of your heart and allow yourself to kind of fill back up so that you're operating from a full cup.
different people do different things to charge the battery.
Yep.
What works for one may not work for the other.
That's the truth. Some people replenish, introverts like myself like to go by ourselves to replenish and fill up. Some people need the actual connectivity of other people, right? So talking with other people, spending quality time will actually replenish that cup, and then also bring them back online to their freshest
Hobbies
self.
do it too. I told you before, my bobcat is my space.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, I see you on your bobcat all the time. That's my space.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
get away. I can't hear the phone ring because the engine's too loud.
Yes, and so if you're someone who goes off by yourself, then you are probably also that introvert. It doesn't mean you're an outgoing introvert, but introverts tend to replenish by themselves, whereas extroverts need to connect to other people to replenish
No, you're
the battery.
absolutely correct. And sometimes the introvert fights the extrovert.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
This is so interesting.
It is.
Do you get, when you're researching these things, man, who comes up with all this?
There are some amazing scientists putting out some amazing work, and I'm really grateful for that. And we're learning more and more about ourselves and how we operate in the world, how we connect to people, and how we produce things in the world. So,
All right, so anybody watching, they got to think with their head, their heart, and their gut,
that's it.
and keep them all in balance.
That's right. Follow your heart, trust your gut, use your head.
Daddy used to say that a lot. Use your head.
That's it.
Okay. All right. We'll take a break. More programming on HTV because I got to go to the break using my head, my heart, and my gut. See you in a little bit.